one of the coolest developments with Nintendo Switch recently was their Nintendo Direct, their Nindies Direct, where they talked about indie games coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is awesome. And speaking of smaller games, you actually want to do a spotlight this week, Jordan, on Read Only Memories 2064, right?
Oh my god, I'm sorry, but I just heard the scariest sound around me, and there's nobody else in my house right now. I was like, what the fuck is that? And it's the neighbor's dog squeaking on a toy. I was like, Jesus, it was terrifying. It was like,
Okay.
Crisis averted.
and I'm like, who is in my house? But yeah.
So what game did you want to
So
share
yeah,
with us?
after your silky smooth transition that I just blew over like a train wreck. Yeah, so our indie spotlight for this month is going to be 2064 Read Only Memories, which is, as I've described before, a cyberpunk adventure game where you're, making dialogue choices and solving puzzles and picking up items and such. And of course, I've talked recently about how much I've gotten into the cyberpunk genre, or the subgenre that it is of science fiction, and how I'm hoping to see more games come along with that style, especially now that Deus Ex is clearly not going to happen, since we were talking about Jason Schreier mentioning that they had canceled the sequel at Eidos Montreal. So yeah, basically 2064, a lot of people complain about adventure games not understanding how to solve issues or get past checkpoints because it doesn't make any sense, the things that they want you to combine, the items that they want you to use. But I really like how simple this game is. If you need, if you're trying to get into this bar and the bouncer stopping you, well, then you reach into your backpack and you grab your ID card. Like, the stuff usually makes sense, the tasks that you're trying to carry out. So I really enjoy that part of it, that it's smooth and it doesn't ever feel like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? I haven't even had to look up any walkthroughs, so there's that. The soundtrack is absolutely incredible.
I was going to ask about that because it looks like a game with a good soundtrack.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's got a really great. Basically, I've been getting into this subgenre of music recently called vaporwave, which is really synth heavy and really very electronic music. That is very cyberpunk. It's like used in cyberpunk. You know, anytime you see cyberpunk videos or anything like that. So
Let me stop you. Have you ever seen the movie Grandma's Boy?
I love that movie.
I haven't.
I love that movie.
Okay, well, Jerrad, here's what I just heard by the way he described that music. The character with the tall guy, who's the famous developer, the real smart guy, when he's just in his own room and the music that's playing while he's coding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I just heard when Jordan described
It's basically
that.
like vaporwave music is like the music from the movie Drive. Have you guys seen Drive? Yeah, so stuff like that, really synth heavy vaporwave music. I've been listening a bunch to the Read Only Memory soundtrack on YouTube, but I'm only playing like the first bit that I've gotten to in the game. Like I'm not even spoiling myself on the music tracks because I love them that much. So yeah, it's got a great vaporwave soundtrack. The visual aesthetic is really cool. It's kind of got a 16-bit SNES vibe to it. It's got lots of pretty colors because, like I said, it is cyberpunk, and so there's plenty of neon and that type of stuff. It definitely feels like a retro cyberpunk. Like it feels like the game was made in 1995, and the future that they're envisioning feels like a future that would have been envisioned in the 90s, with the robots and the technology that you're seeing. But that's still cool. It's still cool to see like a retro future tech. So, yeah. And then, sometimes with this indie spotlight, I kind of like to talk about the indie developer behind it, but really the only thing I know about these guys is that they didn't want people buying this game if they were Trump supporters, which I couldn't care less about. I think is just a whatever kind of statement. They can make that statement if they want to, but I think there's probably plenty of Trump supporters enjoying their game that don't even fucking know that they tweeted that shit out. So it's like kind of stupid, but
it got them an article written about them on most
pretty
game
much,
sites, so.
pretty fucking much, and it's getting me to talk about it now. But yeah, I'm still playing it. You know, it's not like they said fuck all people who ever supported Trump ever. You know, so
I have a question for you.
I'm sure I'll still buy their next game or whatever.
So I obviously I'm not too familiar with the game outside of the Trump tweet, but I'm looking at it, and these 4 like main characters that they feature in a lot of their visuals, they look like really interesting characters just from the aesthetic look. Are they that interesting in the game?
Yeah. They are, yeah. The optional dialogue that you get to go through, I was finding myself, you know, clicking on all the options, even though you didn't have to, just so I can find out about these different characters. And that's a great point. You know, I was talking about the aesthetic, and it does have a great aesthetic, but one of the parts of the aesthetic is the aesthetic is the character design, and the character design is really top notch, as you're pointing out there. And I think one of the first characters that you meet is called Turing, who is a little robot boy, and which is, yeah, Turing is a reference to the Turing test, which, you know, is has to do with artificial intelligence, which obviously a lot of cyberpunk is involved in talking about artificial intelligence. So that was a great little nod. And so yeah, the characters, even him, you know, he's a little robot, but he's so cute and funny that you want to keep talking to him and finding out about him. So yeah, really enjoying this game so far. I fucking love the soundtrack. Also, I forgot to mention that the opening starts up, and then there's you know, text on the screen, and this narrator starts talking, and it's Dave Fennoy, the voice of Dave Fennoy.
That gives me I really want to play this now. I love Dave Fennoy.
Yeah, cool little shout out right there.
Yeah.
You know, so
this is awesome. It sounds like a great game. It might be a game that I pick up in a lull throughout this year if there ever is any of those. Yeah.
Well, and it was only $20 from the start, so I was like, hell yeah, dude, I'm down.
And if nothing else, I'm gonna listen to some vaporware.
Yeah, some
vaporwave.
Vaporware is.
I like wear better.
That's like
vaporware. Do you know what vaporware is? That is.
Sounds like a company that makes vape pens.
Video game. No, vaporware. Well, that's funny. That would actually make sense. But no, vaporware is like video games that get talked about but never come out. And they're not like canceled games.
Yes.
Well, I guess canceled games would technically be under vaporware, but like Half-Life 3 is vaporware, you know, or Half-Life 2 Episode 3 is also vaporware because that was supposed to come out. So yeah, but vaporwave music is also cool if you guys want to check that out. Home is a great artist. I just started listening to him, so that's a good way to kind of get into that subgenre. Home, Home.
When I do get around to this game, I'm probably going to pick it up on PC. I hope it eventually comes to Xbox One just so I can get those achievements and stuff. But if not, this is definitely a game I'm putting on my Steam wish list. That way I know what to go to in times of, where we're lacking games to play, which I don't know is going to happen this year.
Right.
But yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah,
so thank you for sharing that.
I would say it'll be on... Oh, yeah. I would say it'll be on Xbox by the end of the year.
Awesome. Excited to hear that. Like with a lot of these indie devs, the way you're talking about this game and what I've seen from it gets me excited for their next project. I hope this does really well because the evolution of studios is something really cool to see, especially when they make really solid games. Mike Bithell, known for Volume and stuff, said he's close friends with the developers of this game and that they do something special, and that's high praise coming from him because his games are so well made as well. So I'm excited to see what they have in store.
Midboss is that developer.
Yeah.
Midboss.
Which is a cool name too.
Yeah. Cool logo.